Hi, my name is Ashley Fulmer. I'm the NGSS coordinator, and I'll take you through day 4 of our instructional materials adoption process, and that was our pilot planning day. So the agenda was to review and then give the publisher some time to present and help the teachers plan for the pilot. Both Amplify and FOSS came in, and then teachers had time to plan and get ready for their 2 weeks of piloting. So norms will remain the same. And then we just really wanted to focus on their role, which was to represent the site and cluster, gain feedback from site and cluster for those 6th grade teachers, and then be objective and open to the new curricula. So we went through an icebreaker. I took them through PowerSchool where everything was found. And we did take some time to go through our guiding principles. So if you haven't had a chance, click on this picture of the document and we'll take you to the document. And you can read the 5 guiding principles in detail. And so this is what the basis of the work has really been and surrounded upon or around, really focusing on some of these key pieces that we pulled out of the Guide for Instructional Direction and the California Framework. Okay. And so we did a quick review in reviewing NGSS and the old standards and comparing them to Friends and Game of Thrones. So if you look at the old standards, they all start with Students Know, which is very low-level Bloom's fact-based knowledge. And just like Friends, where you have a very low level, it all wraps up within a 30-minute episode. You have that underlying storyline of 6 friends living and working in New York City, but each episode pretty much ends and then you go on to the next issue or problem. And that's how science used to be and how we used to do it. We used to do sitcom science where we would do a little lesson, everything would wrap up, you'd turn in your exit ticket and you'd be done. Or by the end of the unit, you tested and then you moved on. And you didn't really have that storyline that went throughout the entire year. Maybe the fact that it was all life science or physical science, but it really wasn't a deep storyline. Whereas with Game of Thrones, and if you compare that to NGSS, you do have that deep, rich storyline, and there's different pieces that are happening in different parts of different worlds, and then they interconnect and interweave. And so that's what we're seeing a lot more with NGSS is that you're getting introduced to different pieces earlier, but then we're going to go deeper later. And so it's this really deep, complex storyline. And even just by looking at the standards themselves, you can see that difference. Okay. And so when we were thinking about this comparison, we originally were talking about house because, science. But when we were started to talk about house, and if you've ever watched an episode, the beginning is a lot like an NGSS lesson where you have this phenomena before they introduce, they do the credits, the opening credits. Something happens to a person, a patient, whatever, but you don't know. There's, they're falling down, they're bleeding, they can't see all of a sudden. And so throughout the episode, they do different tests and different things, and little pieces start to come together. And you get more and more information. And that's a lot like NGSS too. Okay. So when we decided it was important to also review phenomena, and so natural phenomena are observable events that occur in the universe, can use our science knowledge to explain or predict. The goal of building knowledge in science is to develop general ideas based on evidence that can explain or predict phenomena. Okay, so this is a key piece of NGSS. And if you haven't heard the song, the Phenomena song, everybody says it's now phenomena. It's just kind of fun to kind of make fun with this. But when you're thinking about looking at phenomena, it is important to answer these questions and really see, can we use 3 dimensions to explain how or why the phenomena occurs? Is it relevant? Is it interesting? Is it important? Is it going to build understanding toward grade level performance expectations? So these are really key pieces when we're looking at phenomena, and we want to make sure that we're doing this when we're looking at the phenomena that are present in the instructional materials as well. And so there are 2 types of phenomena, anchor and investigative. An anchor is that overarching one that guides the unit and probably connects multiple performance expectations, where an investigative one guides a concept and may only include one performance expectation. But both should be purposeful, elicit curiosity and questioning in students, and be revisited through the lesson or the unit. Okay. Let's skip that one. We also talked about UDL, or Universal Design for Learning, which is a framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for people based on scientific insight and to how humans learn. And so with UDL, we're giving students multiple opportunities for engagement, representation, and action and expression. What we're doing is we're thinking about our classes and our learners in our class as we are creating our lessons or in our curriculum. So it's being proactive and taking all of our diverse learners into consideration while we're planning and creating units and curriculum, instead of being reactive and finding that our students are not being successful and then creating some systems of support afterwards. These systems of support should be built within the entire units so that students can be successful throughout. Okay. And so we talked about the logistics of the pilot, which was that we planned for 2 weeks of Amplify and 2 weeks for FOSS. And these were the units that each grade level would be piloting. We did understand that there's testing schedules and different things happening in schools. What we just ask is that whoever is piloting to be fair. So however many days you do with Amplify, you do the same with FOSS, so that you can give each publisher a fair shot and a fair experience with yourself as teaching it, as well as with the students experiencing it as well. And so then there was one other thing I did want to take the teachers through. And so when you're on this, if you click on this link, it will take you to a document that I created. And basically what I did was look at all the performance expectations for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and made sure, number one, that both publishers hit all of those performance expectations. So this is the 6th grade. This is 6th grade performance expectations, and they're broken down by physical, life science, or science, and then engineering design. And this is where they say that they are found. So you can see physical science 3.3 is found in thermal energy, which is the 5th unit for Amplify, and it's found in the 1st unit of FOSS, which is weather and water. So the other thing that I did was take our learning progression, which is based on the California framework, and there's 4 instructional segments, and I found where the performance expectations fall in those instructional segments, and then compared the units of Amplify and FOSS with those. So if you look, so for instructional segment 1 of 6th grade, these are the standards that should be hit, and this is where they're saying they're hit in Amplify and in FOSS. Okay, so what you can see is that with 6th and 8th grade, it's pretty nice lining up for Amplify and FOSS. And then if you look at 7th grade, it's kind of all over the place. So I'll give you a chance to do that on your own. I don't have a lot of time in these videos, but I did want to show that to you. And then the other piece I did over on this side is that I took the units that they call for the order, the publishers call for the order. So for Amplify, first would be microbiome, then metabolism, and then it goes in this order. And FOSS, it goes weather, water, diversity of life, and human systems interactions, and which instructional segment those fall into. So you can see instructional segment 1 would be these 3 units, and then for FOSS, it's this unit down here, as well as diversity of life. So just to kind of compare what we are saying should be happening in the classroom following the California framework, and then what Amplify and FOSS are actually doing with their curriculum. Okay. And then the other links that I have in here are just the learning progressions, again, the documents that we have posted on PowerSchool. So you are more than welcome to look at these as well. Okay. And then the links again to the responses to the publisher questions that we posed during the publisher presentations, or in between the publisher presentations and the consensus that we did. So those responses are there too. Just wanted to make sure people had easy access to all this information. And then Amplify came in and presented. We had lunch. FOSS came in and presented, and there was planning. And then we wrapped it up and talked about the role during the pilot. So really, teachers should be piloting with fidelity to the program and seeking feedback from site and cluster for those 6th grade teachers, and then using the guiding principles as a guide. And so the way that you could get feedback was 2 different ways. There was a note-taking sheet, a hard copy that we sent out to all the sites, and those could be filled out. We also have an electronic copy. They're the same exact thing. One is just online and one is handwritten. So either one will work. We just wanted to make sure that you have an opportunity to really dig into the programs and give your feedback. Okay. And that is it for, I forgot this slide. I apologize. And so just ensure every site, this is our role during the pilot, so ensure every site has a display, visit sites for check-ins, and then support you and your needs throughout the pilot. And that is it. There we go. Thank you.